Good day, everyone. So, by the way, I am Isa Marie Elanorias. So, our topic is all about tree growth and the woody plant sale. So, the learning outcomes analyze the stem and the development of the tree, determine the chemical composition of the wood, and understand its structure. And now I will talk about the tree growth. So trees have 6 organs: leaves, stems, and roots are the vegetative structures, and flowers, fruits, and seeds are the reproductive structures. So tree growth is the increase in size and numbers of the vegetative structures. And also, trees use the sun, carbon dioxide, water, and minerals to produce sugars, while sugars are the building blocks of the tree growth. So, tree growth occurs in 2 ways. Growth from the root and shoot tips resulting in increases in height and length is called primary growth. And growth that increases thickness of stems and branches is called secondary growth. So, primary growth occurs in small areas called apical meristems. All leaves, height growth, and increases in the length of branches and roots are the result of growth at the apical meristems. And tree stems, branches, and roots also increase in diameter through secondary growth. Upon peeling the bark of a branch, the soft inner layer of bark next to the wood is revealed. So let's proceed to the life cycle of a tree. So as with all living things, trees have a life cycle, from conception or seed to birth or sprout, to infancy or seedling, to juvenile or sampling, to adult, mature, to elderly decline, and finally to death or snag rotting log. Because trees are renewable, the cycle begins or again either artificially through planting or naturally with regeneration of new seeds. For the life cycle to run full circle, external and internal conditions must be favorable for the tree. This includes adequate space, water, nutrients, and sunlight for individual species. The tree's chances of growth and survival through a complete cycle greatly improve with the stresses such as insects, diseases, injuries, competition from other trees, weather, and time itself weaken the tree and can cause it to die. So, seed. Think about which came first, the tree or the seed. So, regardless of what you believe, the more you learn about them, trees are simply amazing. Seeds come in a wide variety of shapes, weights, colors, and sizes, depending on the species. So, all seeds develop from male and female parts of the trees, producing fruits, but not all of them are easily recognizable or edible. And sprout. An embryo is within each seed, but not all seeds will germinate. Favorable environmental conditions enable the embryo to grow, expand, and break through the seed coat using the stored food supply of the seed for the necessary energy to grow. The root grows downward to the soil to anchor the sprout and search for water and nutrients, while the sprout emerges from the ground seeking sunlight. Ideally, the sprout will find light and then the leaves, needles, or scales will develop further to allow the tree to make its own food through photosynthesis. And the seedling, the sprout persistently grows and begins to develop woody characteristics. The soft green stem begins to harden, change color, and develop a thin protective bark. Leaves are needle develop and continue to search out light. The root grows and branches down and out, resembling an upside-down underground tree with a flattened top. And the majority of the tree's roots are in the upper portions of soil to absorb available water and nutrients but also to breathe. Like us, tree roots need oxygen or they will die. And the sampling is a small tree usually between 1 and 4 inches in diameter and 4 feet. This is the standard height where a tree's diameter is measured, diameter at breast height. And typically, a sampling is the size of a tree that is growing in a commercial nursery for transplanting to your yard. In this juvenile state, the tree is not mature enough to reproduce. However, it's growing rapidly. The sampling encounters similar types of competition and threats to that of a seedling. And let's continue. So mature, with favorable conditions, a sapling will continue to develop into a mature tree. During this stage in the cycle, each tree will grow as much as its species and site conditions will permit. In addition, flowers develop, reproduction ensues, fruits form, and seed dispersal can now occur. So the optimum time to harvest trees for forest products beneficial to people is during this stage in the life cycle. Lastly, decline. At this point, the tree's survival is determined more by external stresses rather than the tree's vigor. These stresses take a toll on the tree, making it more susceptible to insects and diseases, and it eventually succumbs to a causal agent or the pressures of competition from other more vigorously growing plants adjacent to the tree. And so, why is important tree growth? So trees greatly contribute to their environment by providing oxygen, supporting wildlife, improving air quality, conserving water, preserving soil, and climate amelioration. So trees take in the carbon dioxide in the air and produce oxygen for living, breathing organisms around it. So thank you for listening and God bless everyone.
So hello everybody, I am Jolly Vicato. So today I will be discussing the stems. So what is stems? A stem is the other structural access for the plant after the roots, and it is also composed of nodes and internodes. So what is nodes? Nodes, this is the one who holds the buds which can grow into leaves, flowers, cones, branches, and etc. So internodes, these are the spaces between the nodes. So stem functions. Stems have four main functions. First, it's support and elevation for leaves, flowers, and fruits. Second, transport of materials between the roots and the shoots. Third, nutrient storage. Fourth, the annual lateral plant growth. There are two types of stems. Number one is the woody stems. The woody stems contains thick top tissue and it is found in plants that live for more than a year. Example nito is trees and shrubs. Second is herbaceous stems. It contains soft, green, juicy tissues and it is found in plants that live for only 1 year. Let's talk about monocot stems or no vascular cambium. First is herbaceous stems. Vascular bundles scattered throughout the stem. Example nito is corn. Second is woody stems. Vascular bundles are scattered throughout the stem. Example naman nito is palm tree. Note, stem diameter will not change with time. So let's talk about dicot stems. Dicot stems. First is herbaceous stems. Vascular bundles are in ring in cortex. Then, vascular bundles consist of outfloem and inner xylem. In between the xylem and phloem is vascular cambium. Example naman ito is beans. So, second is woody stems. Annual rings are present. Then, second is result of new xylem produced each growing season. Example is maple tree. So stems, structure, and development. Stems have all three types of plant tissue. Then, grow by division at meristems, develop into leaves, other shoots, and even flowers. Leaves may also be arranged in one of three ways. Example nito is this alternate IV. Second is opposite periwinkle, and third, whorled sweetwood ruff. Stems have many plants and have modified stems, such as rhizomes, bulbs, stolons, tubers, and leaves.
Hi everyone, this is my report. Tree trunk development. Tree trunk development. A tree's trunk is critical for limb support and root to left nutrient and moisture transport. The tree trunk has to lengthen and expand as the tree grows in its search for moisture and sunlight. A tree's diameter growth is done via cell divisions in the cambium layer of the bark. So what is a tree trunk? A tree trunk is the part of the tree that connects the leafy ground with its roots. Roots absorbs water and nutrients from the soil, which are then transferred up the tree trunk and the cell that act much like pipes. So mga to siyang tree trunks. What develops into a trunk of tree? The trunk is the part of the tree that connects the leafy crown with its roots. Roots absorbs water and nutrients from the soil, which are then transported up the tree trunk in the cell that act much like pipes. Food made in the leaves is then transported down to the roots and to the other parts of trees for growth. So what is the purpose of a tree trunk? A tree trunk generally a single stem but can be multiple stem. Main functions are materials transport and support. Bark main function is to protect the living tissues called cambium from damage. So mali siya na purpose. How long does it takes for a tree trunk to grow? After being cut down, some trees can start growing back new branches as early as 3 to 4 weeks. So if magkat kag tree trunk, it takes 3 to 4 weeks para siya mutubo. Does a tree trunk grow taller? First, the tip of every branch sprouts new growth, making the tree grow taller and spread farther out. At the same time, the trunk branches and roots all grow fatter, making the tree shape wider. The trunk needs to get thicker to support the extra height and width as the tree grows each year. So that's all. Thanks for listening. God bless you.
I'm Rose Mrs. Sala and I will tackle about the woody plant cell. The woody plant cell are plants that have hard stem and that have buds that survive above ground in winter. The best known example are trees and shrubs. The opposite of woody plants is herbaceous plant. Wood is primary composed of xylem cells with cell wall made of cellulose and lignin. Most plants form new layers of woody tissue each, and so increase their stem diameter from year to year, with new wood deposited on the inner side of a vascular cambium layer located immediately beneath the bark. Woody plants have an extra layer of protection on top of epidermis made of cork cells known as bark. Woody plants have an extra layer of protection on top of the epidermis made of cork cells known as bark. The vascular tissue of stem consists of the complex tissue xylem and phloem, which carry water and nutrients up and down the length of the stem and are arranged in distinct standards called vascular bundles. Xylem cell plants vascular tissue that conveys water and dissolved minerals from the root to the rest of the plant and also provide physical support. Xylem tissue consists of variety of specialized water-conducting cells known as tertiary elements.
The water-conducting xylem cells provide an external hydrophobic surface, facilitating water transport as well as mechanical strength. The xylem cells also support the weight of the water transported upward in the plant and the weight of the plant itself. Cell wall are tough support that is outside cell membrane. The cell wall is composed of glucose polysaccharide cellulose. The woody part of trees and certain other plants have a secondary wall, the secondary cell wall that contains another polymeric material called lignin. Lignin is a class of complex organic polymers that form K-structure material in the support tissues of the moss plant. Lignin are particularly important in the formation of cell walls, especially in wood and bark, because they lend rigidity and do not rot easily. Microscope reveals that the wood composed of minute unit called cells. According to estimate, 1 cubic meter or about 35 cubic feet of spruce wood contains 350 billion to 500 billion cells. The basic cells types are called tranchids, vessel membrane, fibers, and parenchyma. Tranchid cells is to provide physical support and conduction of water and sap, while parenchyma cells is which provide storage of nutrients. The fibers, which provide support, and the vessels, which provide conduction of sap. Softwood are made of tranchids and parenchyma, and hardwood of vessels, members, fibers, and parenchyma. A few hardwood species contain tranchids, but such instances are rare. The wood of softwood species is composed of predominantly of tranchids. These cells are mainly longitudinal or axial. Their long axis runs parallel to the axis of the trunk. Axial parenchyma is present in a certain softwood species, but radial parenchyma is always present and constitute the rays, sometimes with radial tranchids. While in a hardwood, the proportion of constituent cell type is vessel members, fibers, and parenchyma depends mainly on species. Vessels, member, and fibers are always present and axially oriented. Axial parenchyma is seldom absent. Rays in hardwood are made entirely of radial parenchyma cells. Tranchids are considered a primitive cell type that give rise through evolution on both vessels, members, and fibers.
Good day everyone, I am Irami Polina from BSF2A and we tackle about my topic which is chemical composition of wood. Chemical composition of wood. Overall, wood has an elemental composition of about 50% carbon, 6% hydrogen, 44% oxygen, and trace amount of several metal ions. A complete chemical analysis accounts for all the components of the original wood sample. Example of chemical composition of wood. Extractive are defined as compound in plant materials and wood that can be extractive with various solvent, such as water and organic solvent. Extractive include turpentine, fatty acids, tannins, etc. that give wood colors and odors. Extractive content of wood is extremely variable depending upon species. Some extractives are responsible for the durability of wood against fungi decay and insect injuries. Other extractives have medicinal values. Next one, cellulose. Cellulose is a long liner molecule with over 7,000 glucoses linked end to end. Bundles of cellulose molecules fasciculate literally by hydrogen bonds to form microfibrils. Microfibrils are the framework of the cell wall and are responsible for the strength of wood. Next is hemicelluloses. Hemicelluloses are a group of compound made up of 60 to 200 units of different sugars, including glucose. So food hemicelluloses are different from hardwood hemicelluloses. Hemicelluloses and lignin are ingredients of natural glue in plant materials, and together they make up the matrix of the cell wall. Microfibrils are embedded in this matrix. Next is lignin. Lignin is a three-dimensional molecule formed by linking 15 to 18 phenolic units called phenylpropines. Lignin contributes to the rigidity of wood. Lignin, together with the hemicelluloses, form the matrix system in the cell wall. They also are the natural glue to hold cell together. Next is abstract of chemical composition of wood. The walls of wood cells are composed of three principal chemical materials: cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, all of which are polymeric. With the initiation of daughter cells through cell division at the cambium, new walls are formed, the primary walls, which encloses the new unit, and the middle lamella or intercellular layer, which separate adjoining cell. Both of these regions are rich in pectic materials. During the phase of cells wall thickening, cellulose and hemicellulose are synthesized within the cell and deposited onto the primary walls, forming as secondary walls. The formation of lignin begins before this phase is complete, starting at the cell corners and spreading along the primary walls and intercellular layer. Next is what is wood. Wood is a porous and fibrous structural tissue found in the stems and roots of trees and other woody plants. It is an organic material, a natural composite of cellulose fibers that are strong in tension and embedded in a matrix of lignin that resists compression. Woody is sometimes defined as only the secondary xylem in the stem of trees, or it's defined more broadly to include the same type of tissue, such as in the roots of trees or shrubs. In a living tree, it performs a support function, enabling woody plants to grow large or to stand by themselves. It also conveys water and nutrients between the leaves, other growing tissues, and the roots. Wood may also refer to the other plants materials with comparable properties and to material engineered from wood or wood chips or fiber. Next is the examples of wood. As you can see on the picture, there are 16 examples about wood. Wood has been used for thousands of years for fuel, as a construction materials for making tools and weapons, furniture and paper. More recently, it emerged as a feedstock for the production of purified cellulose and its derivatives such as cellophane and cellulose acetate.
Woody plant structure. Wood is primarily composed of xylem cells with cell walls made of cellulose and lignin. Most woody plants form new layers of woody tissue each, and to increase their stem diameter from year to year. with new wood deposited on the side or the vascular cambium layer located immediately beneath the bark. The vascular cambium is the main meristem in the stem, producing undifferentiated food cells inwards and back cells outward. Terminal bud at the tip of the stem. In many plants, auxin released from the terminal bud suppresses development of lateral buds, thereby focusing the growth of the plant upward rather than outward. The vascular cambium growth. The vascular cambium is responsible for increasing the diameter of stems and roots and for forming woody tissue. The core cambium produces some of the bark. The vascular cambium is located between the primary xylem and primary phloem within the vascular bundle. The cells of the vascular cambium divided and form secondary xylem to the inside and the secondary phloem to the outside. The cells of the secondary xylem contain lignin, the primary component of wood, which provide hardiness and strength. The xylem, together with the pith, form the wood of the woody stem. Secondary growth of fruits. Secondary tissue comprise the greatest volume of the roots mass of woody perennial plants. Primary tissue continue to form in the feeder roots, but the supporting root structure consists of secondary tissue produced by the lateral meristems, the vascular cambium, and one or more core cambia. The usually unobserved underground root system of most trees are as massive as the huge aerial bodies and counterbalance the above ground weight, thus keeping the tree upright and stable. Secondary growth. A new layer of xylem and phloem are added each year during the growing season. The interior xylem layers eventually die and fill with resin, functioning only in structural support. The interior, non-functional xylem is called heartwood. The newer functional xylem is called sapwood. The exterior layers of phloem eventually become crushed against the core cambium and are broken down. Those mature trees contains many interior layers of older, non-functional xylem is deep within the stem, but only a small amount of older phloem. Growth rings. The ability of the vascular cambium result in annual growth rings. During the spring growing season, cells of the secondary xylem have a large internal diameter and their primary cells walls. Cells walls are non-extensively thick. This is known as early wood or spring wood. During the fall season, the secondary xylem develops thickened cell walls, forming late woods or autumn wood, which is denser than early wood. This alternation of, of early and late wood is due largely to a seasonal decrease in the number of vessels elements and a seasonal increase in the numbers of tracheids. It results in the forming of an annual ring, which can be seen as a circular ring in the cross-section of the stem. An examination of a number of annual rings under nature can reveal the age of the tree and the prevailing climatic conditions during each season.
Good evening, everyone. Now we'll tackle about cell wall layers. Cell wall layers. A plant cell wall is arranged in layers and contains cellulose, microfibrils, hemicellulose, pectin, lignin, and soluble protein. These components are organized into three major layers. There are three major layers. First is primary cell wall. Second is the middle amelia. The third is the secondary cell wall. Primary wall is the cellulose-containing layers laid down by cells that are dividing and growing. Second, the mesolamella, the part of cell wall that is the outermost layer in between cell. It is rich in pectin that cement the primary cell wall of adjustment cell together. It render traceability and form plasmodesmata between cells. Third, secondary cell wall are responsible for most of the plant's mechanical support as well as the mechanical properties prized in wood. There are the examples of cell wall layers. First is mesolamella, primary cell wall, plasma membrane, pectin, homogalactoronane or HGE, silogalactoronane XGE, ramogalactoronane RGI, ranulgalactoronane 2 or RGII, cellulose microfibril, hemicellulose, siloglycan or cyclan, manoglycan or mannans, siloglucans, mixed-linking B-glucans, soluble protein. These are plasma membrane protein, apoprotein, soluble synthase. Taping sa picture B, mesolamella, primary cell wall, secondary cell wall, plasma membrane, lignin. G is glycyl lignin. S is syringlyl lignin. H is hydroxyphenyl lignin. Cellulose microfibril, hemicellulose.